as we know, President Trump is kicking ass and taking names, taking out all of his enemies in the fake news media. He catches them in lie after lie, cover up after cover up. And all these companies, Paramount, ABC, they're forced to fork over all this money, massive settlement, $16 million. This presidential library is going to be a sight to see. They'll probably have enough moolah to install their own Tesla diner on steroids with all the beef tallow French fries you can eat. All you can eat. And many are conflating these settlements with the recent shakeups in the mainstream media. Like 60 Minutes, they had a lot of longtime staff members leave after they deceptively edited that interview with Kamala Harris. CBS announces that The Late Show with Stephen Colbert will come to an end. The White House even teased an end to The View just before Joy Behar announced yesterday that the show was going on a hiatus. Is the president a genius? Is he a psychic, or is he really behind all of these legacy media takedowns? I'm going to break it all down and so much more with my guest, host of Last Call on a Real America's Voice. He's former New Jersey congressional candidate. He was a 2024 Trump surrogate, and he's chairman of the America First Republicans of New Jersey and president of the Italian American Civil Rights League. Mike Crispi joins me on this episode of Nightly Scroll. It's so good to have you back.
Great to be with you, Hayley. It is an honor to be back with you. The show is on fire.
Love it. Thank you so much for being here, especially on a Friday evening. I appreciate it. But there's a lot that I want to get to with you. And first, we have to go through the late night of it all, right? So CBS announces that The Late Show with Stephen Colbert is going to be winding down. They're going to finish out the season, and then next year, bye-bye, no longer. And Stephen Colbert, the night after they announced that, all the late night hosts, all the big names in comedy came out in support of him. And it's sort of like this rallying cry. Everyone's rallying around Stephen Colbert, basically showing their support. Like they disagree with CBS's decision. But this was a financial decision, right?
Well, I think it's a financial decision even more than what meets the eye. Here's what I think. I think that all of these shows these days, they never really make money. They're basically propaganda vehicles for whatever the advertisers of the network want to push. So if you remember the most infamous moment of Stephen Colbert, the
dancing syringes.
The dancing syringes. It's like, who wants to watch that? The answer is Pfizer. Nobody wants to watch that. Nobody cares, except for Pfizer, except for the people paying the bills. So it's a loss leader. So if you don't have people who are actually watching and buying the product and consuming it, what you have is sponsors who are throwing money in, who are pushing a propagandic message. So many case, big pharma, etc. A lot of the really harmful companies that push chemicals and very unpopular things, they do things like sponsor The Late Show so they get a nice soft image. And then as soon as nobody's watching it anymore, they make the decision to go, all right, we're going to have to take our money and put it somewhere else. And that's what I believe happened with Colbert. It's nothing to do with viewership or losing money on legitimate sponsorships. It had to do with the dark actors out there, these corporatists taking their money, putting it elsewhere, Hayley.
Yeah, well, they got to put it somewhere where there's more eyeballs, right? And CBS, if they have to pay President Trump's library, right, $16 million, well, the money's got to come from somewhere, and they're already losing $100 million a year on Colbert and all the 200 people on his staff. I mean, you think about it, the show's not doing well. It's a waste. I mean, yeah, there you go. You found the 16 million and then some. So it's fine. It's a good financial decision. But Colbert has been, and not just Colbert, I mean, lots of people in late night and in media have been saying that it's Trump's fault because obviously, right? But President Trump, Colbert, he said that in the first show back after the announcement, F you, President Trump. And now in another episode, he talks about President Trump's penis size. Let's take a listen.
The president wasn't alone. An official familiar with the documents said they contain hundreds of other names. Of course, names like Donald Trump, Donald John Trump, Donald J. Trump, Donnie Trump, Donald Trump Jr.'s father, Big Daddy Bronzer, a.k.a. the Donald, and a mystery man known only as Micropenis DJT.
Why is it? Jon Stewart made a comment about President Trump's penis size. Now Colbert is making a comment about President Trump's penis size. They're obsessed with his penis.
Well, I mean, they're just really big fans of Barack Obama, I guess, who was an enjoyer of that, male genitalia.
Oh, we'll get into that in just a bit.
So yeah, no, these people are sick. They're mentally ill. And here's the thing. If Trump wasn't the president, they would have went out of business faster. So you know what? They should be kissing his ass because that kept these talentless losers in business for far longer than they ever should have been in business for, Hayley.
Totally. And, President Trump now, because we've seen the demise of Colbert and, George Stephanopoulos, there was a whole lawsuit and settlement with him as well. So Trump is just, he's, like I said, kicking ass, taking names, like all of these lawsuits, all these settlements. It's great for him. Now President Trump claims that Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel are next. And my question for you is, to your point about late night just being dead, can it be revived? Is it failing because it's political, or is it failing because it's anti-Trump? Because South Park is political, that's funny, but everyone's a target.
Well, I think it's dying because these networks, like these liberal networks, they're not hiring people who are funny or talented or good looking or charming. They're hiring people who are towing the message. And the left has this amazing thing where they have this warped sense of reality, like what's funny, what's good, what's entertaining, what's compelling. It's always on display when they try to ram down your throat some left-wing advertising campaign that they paid millions of dollars to do. They're so out of touch with it. So yeah, they would put up a guy like Colbert and be like, oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be funny. His jokes are going to be so edgy and hard-hitting and zingers. And it's like nobody finds it funny. But then if you took somebody who's actually funny, who actually gets ratings, those people aren't on television. Those people are in the podcast sphere, Those are people like you, Hayley, people like Dan Bongino was, people like Tim Dillon, people like Theo Vaughn, people like that. Those are the people who are funny and interesting. People like Colbert and Fallon and Kimmel, they're like manufactured leftist robots, and the jig is up. You can only do that scam so long.
Well, it's interesting. You brought up a good point about all the people that speak truth to power, and they're not afraid to call people out, but they're also actually funny. Yeah. I feel like the left will take a chance on them, and then it's like, like Ricky Gervais, for example. When Ricky Gervais used to host, the Emmys or the Oscars or whatever it is, he'd call out everyone in the room. He had a huge Epstein thing, calling out everyone for being friends with Epstein. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, we don't want Ricky Gervais to host these things anymore. This is getting bad. People in the audience weren't laughing. Then we saw the same thing with Shane Gillis recently. He just hosted the ESPYs, and he's making jokes about Epstein. He's making jokes about the WNBA and how fake that support is. And all of a sudden it's like, so funny. Ooh, it's funny. But are there going to be enough people in leftist media that own these networks and put on these events that will take a chance on someone like a Ricky Gervais or a Shane Gillis?
No, they won't. They won't do it. They're so warped by it. They're not going to put those people on. And when those people are expressing themselves and making jokes, the left doesn't like it. They cringe. They curl up. They think it's wrong. But 75, 80% of America goes, no, that's really funny. That's good. So obviously, we're in the consumer age. People are more on their phones than ever, more attached to media and multimedia. But now there's more choices. So it's kind of unbelievable that, a CBS or an NBC or an ABC, it's kind of amazing how rapidly and how quickly they're failing because they had the biggest head start. They started out with hundreds of millions of dollars and massive built-in audience. It would have probably been pretty easy if they had normal, not ideological leftist psychos running their institutions. They said, all right, we're going to pivot and take our audience into the digital age with really actually funny, talented people. But they can't do that. Back in the day, Hayley, when these shows were at their peak, there was no choice. You didn't have a choice to watch, something on X or to stream on Rumble or to go watch, The Late Show. You didn't have a choice. It was on, you're going to go watch it. Now people have a choice, and when you have a choice, they're going to pick somebody who's actually legitimately good. That's the free market, baby. and these leftists can't survive in it.
Yeah, and The View might not survive either. So President Trump has been
goodness.
having beef with Joy Behar, of course, like as they always are. And he suggested that maybe The View is another show that will be ending soon. And then yesterday, Joy Behar announced on The View that they're going on hiatus. Is President Trump psychic?
I mean, I thought that The View would stay around the longest because I always like those clips where they bring in the person to sit in the middle, you know, and they're all talking and they bring in the person. And every now and then you'll get a person who just absolutely excoriates the rest of the cast of The View. So I'm going to miss it a little bit. I'm going to miss it because
I am too.
I love those moments. And it's also really good podcast material. View material is the best podcast material ever. Showing clips of The View, it's the barometer of the worst demographic ever. And this isn't meant to offend anybody, but it's true. But it's middle-aged white women are the worst voting demographic in the country right now. Just a fact. Middle-aged white women. If middle-aged white women were taken out of the electorate factor, then we would never lose an election again. But it's the middle-aged white women who watch things like The View and feel this need to like virtue signal, and the propaganda works the best on them. Again, I'm not talking about black people or black women or whatever, like that's all baked in. I'm talking about a persuadable suburban middle-aged woman who goes, well, I don't want to be looked at as a racist, or I don't want to be looked at as a bigot. So then they watch The View, and The View reinforces that. And they're not, I guess, that inherently strong because their husbands are pussies. Can I say that?
Yeah.
We're on Rumble, right? Mm-hmm. So their husbands are weak. And so it's just this never-ending cycle. Then the kids are in school, and the kids are learning
they're getting emasculated
at the schools. Yeah, so it's like this loop. And then they turn on The View, and they're like, oh, well, Joy Behar says that, you know, I got to not be racist, and I got to support, you know, George Floyd's memory by watching cities get burned down. So it is unbelievable. I'm going to miss it. I think it should stay. If all these things could, you know, if one thing has to stay, they're all going to go away. Keep The View.
Completely agree. It's I when I saw this, I thought, well, what am I going to talk about?
Yeah.
What am I going to talk about? But speaking of old people, it is crazy. The women that you're talking about, the older white women who watch The View. Isn't it curious that those are the people that we kept seeing at the protests? Like the protests in 2020, the George Floyd protests and whatever else was going on back then, it was just younger, radical progressives. Then the protests recently, the Take Down Tesla, the Fight the Oligarchy, and the recent LA riots about ICE and all that, much older demographic. It's weird.
Yeah. So before people get on my case and they say, oh, Mike Crispi is attacking old women. If you're an old woman who watches this show, we love you.
We're not talking about
smart.
you.
Congratulations.
Yes.
Okay. We're talking about the people who show up on a Saturday morning in 35 degrees with purple hair and pre-made protest signs and a sheet of like, you know, what their protest lines need to say. And they read them and then they screech at the top of their lungs. If anybody asks them a question from the media, that's who we're talking about.
Right.
And yes, Hayley, I've been at a lot of these, you know, protests in a counter-protesting capacity. And it's always middle-aged, mentally ill, white women who comprise 70% of the group. Now, it used to not be like that. It used to be a little bit more organic, but either the money's running dry or it's just not working anymore, or they moved on to something else. But those are your protesters, and they're your View watchers. So let's see if there's some type of, testing here. Let's have a hypothesis. If the View goes away, less blue-haired, middle-aged women protesting and screeching at Tesla dealerships. I guess we'll see.
We'll find out. Yes. So Charlemagne the God, he, tested the late night waters. And he argued in his monologue the other night that President Trump is the one that has dementia. He goes through a list of dementia symptoms, including memory loss, confusion, agitation, just to name a few. And then he diagnoses Trump, of all people. Watch this.
But is Trump really losing it as badly as Biden? Let's run through this official list, okay, of dementia symptoms from the Mayo Clinic, all right? Now, first, I want to say that doctors warn it's unethical to diagnose someone you haven't actually examined, but I'm not a doctor, okay? So let's go, all right? Well, the bad news is Trump has rage issues. The good news is there's no way he's remembering the nuclear codes, okay? Now, that's my whole checklist, and I've reached my diagnosis. This guy needs to be put into a retirement home immediately, okay? Yes. And hopefully it's one run by Andrew Cuomo, all right?
Two things there.
Wow.
First, essentially just said that he wants Trump to die.
Yeah.
To raucous laughter. I mean, everyone's just like the clapping seals, which is insane. So making a joke, I'm doing air quotes for anyone listening, a joke about President Trump dying at the hands of Andrew Cuomo. And, you know, the other thing is just odd that he'd be so quick to diagnose President Trump with dementia and not Biden.
He interviewed Biden.
I
Remember,
know.
You ain't black.
You ain't black.
So
that was him.
And I'll tell you something. So back in the day, way back in the day, I interned in college. I interned at CBS Sports. Okay, that was my internship. Part of the internship was I went to a filming of, what do they have on CBS? Is that The Late Show, The Tonight Show? I don't know.
Yeah.
I went to a taping of it. And when you go in there, they tell you, like, before you go in, like, oh, whenever they make a line that you think is funny, like, you have to, like, really go crazy and clap and sell it. Like, it's all an act. So nobody thinks that's funny. He thought he was funny. He's like, oh, well, you know, the nuclear codes, he'll forget the number. It's like, it's not funny. It's not creative. It's like a very low octane, low vibrational joke. Like, nobody in the open market thinks that's funny. If that's on X or if that's on Rumble, nobody's watching. Nobody cares. It's only watchable when it's a studio audience on like a television channel. That's the only time anybody would tolerate that with an audience that is coached to clap and support it. So not funny at all. Charlemagne is trying, but again, like, listen to him. He's reading from the prompter, trying to deliver the lines, and it's just not crisp. It's just not clean. It's not smooth. Well, again, listen to people who are actual like comedian, podcaster, talk show host types. It's funny. It's real. It rolls off the tongue. That's not good.
See, when you were an intern, you were going to these fancy late night shows. When I was in college, I went to Fairfield, so we were in Connecticut. And that's where, right in Stamford, they would film Maury. So we would get drunk. We would take a bus, and we would be in the audience for Maury. And they put me and my friends in the front row, and they'd be like, "You're not the father." We'd be like, "Yeah." Like,
that's actually fun.
So
that
after,
actually is real entertainment.
It was fun. And I will say, after we were done, because they point at you, tell you when to react and whatever. We were like, this is tiring. We're tired after all this acting we had to do. So yes, all the laughs are fake and all of that. But, you know, on the topic of Biden, right? Very hypocritical that Charlemagne the God can, you know, do that interview with him, you know, you ain't black. And then, you know, he just has amnesia about all the things that were wrong with Biden, all the dementia symptoms, Mayo Clinic symptoms that he could have diagnosed Biden with, but of course he didn't because he's biased. And now Biden just sold a memoir deal, a book deal. So this is, he's 82 years old. He made a deal with Hatchet Book Group, and the advance is $10 million. I will say they do not have a release date yet because they probably have to find someone to write it for him. But they don't know when that's going to happen yet. But former President Barack Obama, First Lady Michelle Obama, Clinton, all these guys, they sold memoirs for way more money. So Biden's getting a lower rate, but still $10 million.
Well, I have a copy of the book right here. If I don't want to be a spoiler alert. Here it is. Auto pen. It's just auto pen. There you go. Book's over. Auto pen. You know, that's Biden's presidency. 2 words. Auto pen.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess that's not worth $10 million. But it is fascinating how these
and that's just the advance. Like people are gonna buy it and read it. Who?
Well, they're gonna. What's gonna happen is some NGO is gonna buy 1 million copies. And then puff up the numbers for Biden so he gets 20 million. No one's going to buy that book. It's going to be some NGO that we pay with our tax dollars is going to end up buying the copies of the book with their NGO money, with your tax dollars, and put it in Biden's pocket. That was the deal for Biden to step aside. That was part of the deal, okay? Yeah, I guess you can't get more than $10 million in advance for a 2-word book, auto pen. But $10 million, and then they have, these groups buy the book. He'll make more money from it that way, and that's going to go to the family. That's going to go to Hunter. That's going to go to Dr. Jill. It's going to go to all the people because he'll be gone soon. We don't wish harm on anybody, but, he's at the end of the line, and he cut the deal. He cut the deal.
10 for the big guy. 10 for the big guy again.
10 for the big guy, and Hunter Biden's out there. Hunter's out there doing interviews about crack cocaine. So the Biden family's getting paid. They're in the clear.
Hunter's salivating. Hunter's salivating because he's dropping all these lawsuits. He can't afford to pay it. He can't afford his rent, all this stuff. He's just waiting for someone to write his dad's memoir for him.
And by the way, Biden, it would probably be a really good memoir if it was written. If you said, all right, we're not going to do a presidential memoir because the president was cooked. Okay, doesn't remember anything. Dr. Jill is going to write a memoir about just how bad it actually was and taking you inside the first illegitimate presidency where the guy sat there like a vegetable. That would sell $100 million. I would buy a copy of that book.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be truthful. It wouldn't be truthful. It would be revisionist history about how awesome he was and how with it he was when everyone knows that wasn't really the reality. But let's talk about Obama, because Obama goes on Michelle's podcast and, there are all these rumors about them having, trouble in paradise with their relationship. Maybe Obama is seeing Jennifer Aniston. Maybe he's gay. I don't know. But here's Obama speaking about how every guy needs a gay friend. Listen.
And that's one of the things that I think a lot of times boys need is not just exposure to one guy.
One dad.
No matter how good the dad
is. He can't be everything.
He can't be everything. And that boy may need somebody to give the boy some perspective on the dad.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
One of the most valuable things I learned as a guy was I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line, who became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant. You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this.
What's your reaction?
Okay, tell us without telling us, Obama, that you've been in the closet for all these years. Okay, here's the deal. I love this topic.
I loved my gay professor. He put me in my place. I'm like, what are we talking about here?
So here's the deal, Barack Obama. These are three things that are not often talked about, but 100% factual, stone cold true. One, Barack Hussein Obama's ex-girlfriend shared love letters that he wrote to her where he said in the letter that he had sex with men in his imagination. Why would you write that in a love letter? Think about all the people out there. You ever wrote a love letter? Ever wrote that as a dude? Nope. Probably not. Two, Barack Obama's former biographer said that during the course of their conversations and following him around, that he had exhibited and had talked about homosexual thoughts. So the biographer said it. That's two. And three, must we not forget about Larry Sinclair, okay?
Right.
Who has been on the record for a very long time with a highly specific story that has been ironclad. Told the same story for 25 years. Larry Sinclair doesn't seem like the brightest bulb. So the fact that he remembers the story ironclad and he was willing to do all the polygraphs and all that stuff of Barack Obama, then a state senator, doing what he did with Larry Sinclair. Those three stories, Barack Obama is not dating Jennifer Aniston. No. He's dating a dude. Okay, that's who he's dating. And I firmly believe
he might be married to
Barack Obama,
said dude.
Yeah. He was the first gay president, and I don't understand why Democrats aren't
lean in.
celebrating that. You guys are the LGBT. Everything is rainbow with the rainbow flag and the black, vertical line. Barack Obama embodies that flag. Why don't you celebrate it, liberals? Why would you get mad at me if I said that?
Maybe they thought it would be too much, like too many identity politics checked boxes. I don't know. But this is totally an attack on men, by the way, because you would never say all women need a lesbian friend. They assume like the opposite doesn't work, right? Like they assume that women are more open and accepting to the LGBTQ community. It's a gross generalization. Why do men need gay friends? I don't think real friendships are born out of checked boxes. Like, oh, let me go seek out a friend who is attracted to men. Like that's bizarre. If you have shared interests, sports teams, dive bar, trivia night, whatever, and you happen to make friends with a gay person, maybe you're politically aligned or whatever. I have a lot of gay friends who are conservative that I met through this, but I would argue that most gay men have more shared interests with women. So why are we forcing friendships? Like, it's bizarre. This should tell you everything.
You're 100% right. So I'm thinking about the course of my life, and I never once, I turned out pretty fine. And never once did I say, well, in order for me to be a normal social person, I need to go seek out a gay friend. No, that never registered to me ever. And I turned out pretty fine. Now, again, to your point, over the course of life, have I made friends with gay people in politics? Yeah, of course. George Santos, he's actually reporting to jail today. Good guy, met him through politics, okay? And he's an openly gay guy. We have shared interests in politics and stuff like that. But it's not like, oh, I'm going to be friends with him because he's gay. Barack Obama is doing everything he can but tell us. And I'll tell you one other thing about this topic, Hayley. Justice for the family chef. The family chef knew something. Amen. And that is why the family chef drowned in
paddleboarding.
1 foot of water, paddleboarding by himself, and he couldn't swim. Make it make sense. The chef knew something.
It's fishy.
I think it might have had something to do about Barack Obama.
It's totally
Michelle
fishy.
Obama's love life.
And now the news is coming out this week that Obama orchestrated Russiagate, which we knew. But people are saying, and they're calling for Obama to go to jail, and I think that would be lovely, but it's just not going to happen. I think that's a total pipe dream. But what do you think about Comey, Brennan, and some of these other guys? Are they on the chopping block?
Well, I think at least one of them is going to go. They have to. Okay,
someone's got to be the sacrificial lamb.
I think Brennan should be the sacrificial lamb. Brennan, is again another guy whose identity is totally fake. Brennan is like an avowed, Communist Party member. Okay, this guy is a total wacko. Look into the history of John Brennan, and you'll see a guy who's totally un-American. It's the most bizarre backstory. And you'll say, all right, this guy is an un-American fraud. How did that guy become the CIA director at the time? It's so bizarre. So I don't think Obama's going to go to jail. I would love to see it. I think he should be charged. I don't know if they have the testicular fortitude to do it, Pam Bondi. But he definitely is at the center of it. He's definitely guilty. Clapper and Brennan, too. We need to see at least 2 out of the 3 of these people go down. Otherwise, they'll just keep doing it. We've got to have accountability for it.
Agreed. And essentially, they've been told over and over again that they can get away with murder, so they keep doing it. And great point. So I want to move on now to something a little less serious, which is Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. They're unserious people, but their $100 million Netflix deal is over. Nail in the coffin for Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's $100 million Netflix deal was poor sales of her As Ever wine. I didn't know that she was selling wine. She's selling jam. I mean, these people, they fumbled the bag so hard.
What am I going to watch now? She's not on Netflix? That's crazy. And what am I going to drink now?
Yeah,
she's not selling wine anymore. I mean, my life without Meghan Markle and Prince Harry, I don't know what it's going to be. Hopefully I can pick up the pieces. No. It's ridiculous. Nobody cares about these 2 people. They're the most self-important individuals that nobody cares about. And the funniest thing is, I remember reading an article about how they were talking about how the royal family was going to stop paying for the security or something about the family security details. Nobody cares, okay? Just like with Biden. These people can walk down the street in New York City and nobody will care. So I'm so over Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. And just like if they walk down the street and nobody cared, nobody's going to care if their Netflix deal is done. No one's going to care if the wine is not happening anymore and that's discontinued. It probably wasn't that good anyway. Hayley, it's Friday night after the show. I'm going to go see if I can find one of those bottles. And I'll next time I come on, I'll give a taste test
Seriously,
review.
I would love to. I would love to taste test it. She's got some jam or something, which is very strange.
It's not even American. That's a very European. Hey, guys, Meghan and Harry, you're in America now. Yeah, this isn't the UK. We don't do jam. We do jelly, peanut butter and jelly. So that it just goes to show how to touch her. We'll sell jam to the Americans.
The biggest red flag to me is when a woman rips you away from your family, or a man. Like if you're in a relationship and they pull you away from your family, unless you're, I mean, maybe some people's families are horrible, but you know, the royal family, when your family's the royal family, it's okay to lean into the Nepo baby thing and your life is set up. Your kids' lives are set up. But no, Meghan wanted to do the girl boss thing. She wanted to move to California and be a star, right? She didn't want to give up her failed career, right? And like, for what? All of this failure? I mean, it's just the biggest red flag ever. She's like trying to be some trad wife Martha Stewart, and she's not that. And then you think about some of these other celebrity products, right? Like George Clooney has Casamigos tequila, and I don't know, like a lot of celebrity things, but you have to be cool. You have to be good at what you do. You know, like Bobby Flay has restaurants. Like it makes sense, right? And, you know, their Spotify deal crashed and burned. I mean, why Netflix took them on in the first place, I don't know. But what do they do next? Like, what do you think their next step is? Do they have to grovel back to the royal family and say, please take us back? I miss my allowance?
I'll tell you this. I think it's pretty interesting how we're connecting the dots here, how they got $100 million from Netflix. And they thought that'd be a good idea. They gave them $100 million from Netflix. They thought it'd be a good idea. It's similar to how they picked the host of The Late Show. It's similar to how that all is going, right? That's just the entertainment industry. Now, Meghan Markle and Harry, I think the bigger culprit in this isn't Meghan. I think it's Harry. Because, I mean, what a beta cuck. Yep. I mean, loser. What a loser. You're letting this woman come in, okay? This woman who's, you know, B-list actress, okay, passed around Hollywood. She's going to be the princess or the queen. You're going to put her up there, and then you're going to let her, listen, it's fine. You fall in love. It's a beautiful thing. But then she's going to go run the show. She's going to separate you from the royal family. It's not like she separated him out like, oh, you know, whatever is a middle-class suburban Ohio life. So let's go move out to L.A. You're set to be the king. You're royal. I mean, how much of a beta do you have to be to get talked out of that? It's not like Harry was, you know, a middle manager, you know, at a restaurant in Ohio, and she said, "Oh, let's move out to California, get away from your family. Let's go chase these other things." It's not that. It's like the guy was ready to be the king.
They
like,
had the golden
ticket. He's a royal,
right?
How bad does Harry have to be? He should be studied. He gets 10 times worse than Meghan Markle.
Totally agree with you. It's so embarrassing. And I don't think they were ever going to be king and queen. I think that's Kate and William. But
even better.
Still,
you get all the trappings without the responsibility.
Exactly. That's the point.
It's like, you get to dress up, go to all the stuff. Yeah.
Had it made. So stupid. Speaking of stupid, I want to talk about these city-run grocery stores that Zohran Mamdani, we can go into the New York thing. We met each other when I was living in New York and you're in New Jersey. And, you know, New York politics, I have a soft spot in my heart for New York because my family lives there. My friends are still there. I don't want to see it fail. I want to see it succeed. A lot of people say, well, they got what they voted for. No, I don't feel that way. I know there are a lot of good Republicans who live there and they can't leave. And then you see someone like Zohran Mamdani winning the Democratic primary and he says, okay, well, we're going to do city-run grocery stores and some other socialist BS, right? And the unfortunate thing for him is that city-run grocery stores were tried before. They were tried in Kansas City. And I want to just show you what that looked like.
It's clear this Sunfresh at 31st and Prospect is struggling. This is the first section people see when they come in. There's barely any produce.
Totally empty.
A lot of the coolers and shelves around the store look the same way, empty. So shoppers have been asking us, if the store isn't closing, then where is all the food? A rotten smell comes through the door, and anywhere you turn, you'll see products that need to be restocked. No hot food or deli.
I watch people walk in and walk out.
The grocery store has received financial assistance from the city, but has been unable to keep those shelves stocked in an area that in the past has often been referred to as a food desert.
Around here,
a
good thing
food
don't last
desert.
too
We can
long.
pull out of this. I've seen enough.
It will impact a lot of people.
But you get the point. Rotting smell when you walk in, no food. I mean, this is not looking so good, but New Yorkers want it implemented. Why?
I mean, do you want anybody ever go to the DMV? Do you want your grocery store to be like the DMV?
No.
Anything the government touches turns to shit, as President Trump says. Everything woke turns to shit. That is what these grocery stores are going to be. Because then you're relying on bureaucrats to manage supply chain. Like the bureaucrats are in their job because their uncle or their family member said, hey, you're really not good at anything. We'll get you a job at the DMV. You'll sit at the desk. You'll stamp, okay? Now you're having to manage the supply chain. You're having to go place orders and do budget and figure out where to source the produce from and figure out when the supply is getting low to get new. That's way too much. You can't, no, it's not going to work. You can't do that. And it has been tried before, not just in Kansas City, but around the world. It has worked a grand total of 0 times.
Yep.
And Zohran Mandambi wants to do it. And he wants to do a lot of things. And I just think that it's a byproduct of just how bad the city has spiraled into over the last decade. The city's spiraled in a lot of ways. And it's largely based on, a lack of law and order and the COVID stuff. But how desperate do these people need to be, to say that this is the alternative they want to turn to? Now, they call it a food desert because a food desert is basically a place where people don't want to deliver or it's too expensive or, it's just not going to work. So let me think about that for a minute. All right, let's think about this. They do city congestion pricing.
Yep.
So now it costs 20% more to get the truck in. Everybody in there is, negotiated through some corrupt labor union. So you got to pay 20% higher off the rip for that. Then you have all the middlemen and the corruption of, the bureaucracy, permits and licenses and all this red tape to open a business. You got to account for that. And then you have the crime factor. Okay, people need to hire independent security because people just walk in and steal it because anything less than $999 isn't a crime.
Yep.
You got to account for that. That's 5 layers of cost. So if you work for a food distributor, you go, I'm not going to deliver there.
Yeah, hell no.
Makes no sense. That's called a food desert for people who don't know what that means. So that is created by what? Who creates a food desert? Not racism, leftism.
Right.
There you go. So it's only going to continue under Zohran.
Yep, it's so horrible. So what do you think is going to happen in this New York mayoral race? Now you have Cuomo, he's like a cockroach that you can't get rid of. You're trying to kill it. He just comes back to life now. He lost the Democratic primary. Now he's running as an independent. Does Curtis Lewa have a shot? Is Mayor Eric Adams dead? What's happening?
So it is unfortunate because Cuomo and Adams are going to cannibalize each other's vote. That seems to be happening. Then you have Sliwa, who in the last election got about 350,000 votes in the general. Zohran got about 500,000 in the primary. So can Sliwa make up that number from 350 to over 500? I don't know if he can. And then you have Cuomo and Adams splitting votes. So this is going to sound really scary, but unless something drastic happens, we're going to get Mayor Zohran. I know that's a very black pill thing to say, but it's just numbers unless something happens.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's very scary. We'll see what happens. But, I pray for my New Yorkers because they're not all bad. They're not all dumb socialists. There are some good people there that are going to have to live under this crap and they don't want it. So I feel for them. But I've got one last thing to ask you about. There is a new app called the T app. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay, good. So I'm going to tell you about it. I just found out about it as well. But this is an app called T, and it is an app that allows women to... Have you heard of these Are We Dating the Same Guy Facebook groups?
I have, yes.
Okay.
I've heard of those.
So women will go to this Facebook group and they will post a picture of a dating app profile and say, is anyone else dating him? And then there's, 50 comments on it that say, yeah, I'm dating him too. Yeah, I'm dating him too. And then, or he was an asshole, or he made me pay, or he made me split 50, whatever it is, right? So it allows these women, and sometimes it's worse, right? And the whole purpose of this is to protect women in dating. Now it has moved over from the Facebook groups. Now it's this app T, and 1 million women have downloaded it. Men cannot sign up. You have to be a woman to download it. And the guy who started it, Sean Cook, started it. He started this app after he witnessed his mom get catfished online. Photos of his mom were used in a dating app that wasn't her. And he said, okay, I've got to make something to make women safer. What's your reaction to—
What does the app do?
It just allows women to have a forum to spill the tea on men that they're dating. Dating app profiles, just the way that the Facebook group works. They can post pictures of whoever they're dating and then see what gossip they can drum up.
I think we're in the end times, Hayley. This can't go well. I mean,
it's not good for— it's not a good day to be a man.
Marriage rates are at all-time low. Women are just as conniving as men, if not more, in modern dating. Okay, you don't even disagree with me on that. This is true. So, I mean, the T app is only going to lead to more, idiosyncratic scheming, gaming, cynicism, and I just don't see an off-ramp on this. I mean, I want to believe that modern love can thrive and survive, and it's real. But unfortunately, most of the young generation, I think, are looking for reasons not to, make something work rather than make something work. So, I mean, we're in a downward spiral. And, is this going to be people going to make stuff up? Or people going to go flood the app with negative things? If you're scorned and upset? I mean, we have women who, press fake rape charges on men and do stuff 100%. Like that. All this crazy stuff. So what's this app going to turn into, right? It's going to be a disaster.
Yeah, you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Who's regulating it? So it just seems to me like it's not going to go well. And I don't know what the solution of this is, but this just seems like it's more of a perpetuation of, first we had the internet, then we had, dating apps. Now we have like these apps,
it's
Facebook
all bad.
Forums. And it's all going downhill. So,
yeah, it's rough out here. But thank you for giving us your insights. I had a lot of fun with you. You're the best. Plug your shows and where people can find you if they want more of Mike Crispi, which of course they will.
All right. You guys can go on X at Mike Crispi on X. Super easy to find. And Real America's Voice TV. They're here on Rumble. They stream on Rumble. Last Call with Mike Crispi. Saturday nights at 8:00 p.m. Go watch the show. A lot of fun. Hayley comes on sometimes. It's a blast.
Love it.
And Hayley, it's an honor to be on as always. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Absolutely love when Mike joins the show. I'm going to have him back on soon.